Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and today we'll talk about how God sleeps during your storms. And I want to expose to you the Mark chapter 4 secret that many people miss. You know, people read the scripture, especially the New Testament, and they kind of gloss over it. Almost some people want to just read as much as possible, but they're not really absorbing it and taking it in and even understanding to where they can apply what they're learning in their daily lives. And this is an important passage of scripture because in this passage of scripture, when the storm arises, when the problem comes, when the tribulation is occurring, there's only a handful of words of Jesus, and those words are so powerful, everything immediately is right. So I want to read you this passage of scripture because it's very important. It's Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 41. And the same day when the even was come, he saith unto them, Let us pass over unto the other side. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship. And there were also with him other little ships. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship, so that it was now full. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him, and say unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? And he arose and rebuked the wind, and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he saith unto them, Why are ye so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith? And they feared exceedingly, and said one to another, What manner of man is this, that even the wind and sea obey him? See, they didn't understand anything. And this is not to criticize the disciples at this point in time, but they thought he was doing this as God. Or at this point, they may not have even understood that part. But they just said, Who is this? How is this even possible that a man can do this? Jesus was showing them the power they had in this life, the power to speak and decree things and see them be established, the power to have what they say. Jesus, God manifest in the flesh, dwelling among us, was asleep during the storm. The disciples were terrified. They were in a panic. And they said one of the funniest statements I think I've seen in the entire scripture. It always makes me laugh because it's so pitiful. You can just see it and envision this sad, panicked state that they're in. Master, carest thou not that we perish? Like, Lord, you don't care that we're going to die? No, he didn't care because they weren't going to die. Because he was not party to their unbelief and their doubt. They were in a panic. They were fearful. The ship's taking on water. They're going to die. That's what they thought. They could only see and walk by sight. Jesus walking by faith, knowing what he had to do, knowing his mission, knowing that God was his protector, and the angels would guard him up lest he dash his foot against a stone, had zero concern, no doubt, no fear, no anxiety, no worry, so little, and he had zero of it, that he was asleep through it all. And so the reason I titled this video, God Sleeps During Your Storms, as a question, is because so many people are running to God. Don't you care that I'm going to die? Don't you care that I'm broke? Don't you care that I'm sick? Don't you care this bad thing happened or that bad? They always want to blame God for their problems or act like he's unresponsive. But the thing is, he's already given you the power right here and now to take control of that situation, understanding that that situation, that circumstance, is a product of your heart, as Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 says. You didn't guard your heart with all diligence, and you're getting a result you don't want. Now, this is not for you to beat yourself up and tell yourself, oh, I'm doing things so wrong. No, nothing like that. It's just for you to recognize where you are, what's going on, and that you have the power to control it. Those disciples at any point in time could have said, you know what? God's not going to let us die. He gives his angels charge over us. We're perfectly safe and secure. And they could have rebuked the wind. And they could have said unto the sea, Peace be still. And then the wind would have ceased and there would have been a great calm, even if the disciples had done it. It wasn't something that only Jesus could do. And Jesus taught this over and over. He tried to show them they could do the very things he was doing. He said literally that not only the things I do can you do, but even greater things. They were healing the sick. They were raising the dead. They knew there was power available to them. They didn't understand how it works. And unfortunately, in this case, they had no faith. They were faithless. They were fearful. You may be presented with a storm. There may be wind and the sea is churning and you're terrified. Your ship of success, the ship you think is going to take you to success, is about to sink. You can't be like the disciples were here and be fearful and have no faith. He literally doesn't say, how is it you doubted? He says, how is it that ye have no faith? He was calling them faithless. I want you, when you read the Gospels especially, to see things you can do in what Jesus does. Don't just see, oh, this is God. This is God manifest in the flesh, and he can do that, but I'm just little old me. I can't. No, no, no. Not one time did Jesus teach that kind of doubt and unbelief. Not one time did Jesus teach that kind of weakness and powerlessness. He constantly taught faith in God. Just think of one of the disciples, just one of them, stood up and had some faith in this situation and didn't doubt and wasn't panicked. Wasn't sitting there grabbing a cup and trying to dump water overboard because they felt like they're going to sink. You can just imagine, you can just see the whole scenario, the panic, the fear, the worry, the absolute unbridled unbelief. Jesus asleep on the ship, calm, peaceful, unbothered in the least. This does not mean that God doesn't care about your storms. It means that he knows about them. He knows they can occur. He knows that you can produce them from your heart, and he's given you the solution to it by speaking the word of faith, by boldly decreeing those things you want, by literally commanding the works of his hands. You can have what you say. And this is so vital you understand this. I want you to go read Mark chapter 11, verse 22 through 24. I want you to go read Luke chapter 17, verse 6, and just meditate on these passages. Meditate on what Jesus is saying here. You might be in a position right now where you have no faith for this. It just doesn't seem possible to you. I just don't believe that stuff can work. How in the world could that possibly? I'm just a little old worm because you've been taught so many doubtful, hateful things about yourself and negative things about yourself. And you've been taught so long that God's in control that you have this idea that God's working against you because there's so many things, this bad thing over here and that bad thing over there. Well, God must not be on my side. That's not true. He's on your side. He's given you the power. Now it's up to you. You can be on the ship in another cot, asleep, just like Jesus was, not bothered in the least by the storms of life, because you have the victory already. Because you know that you have what you say. You rebuked the wind. You told the sea, peace be still. Everything is good in your life. And I want to give you an important point from my own life and experience. There was a tornado once coming through, and I wasn't always even thinking this way. And I rebuked it and said, peace be still. And it was like a silence hit. There was a calm, just like Jesus had happen here. And that was it. It was gone. My property was untouched. The neighbor's property were untouched. Everything was good. There's great power you have in your words. And when you speak them boldly by faith, not doubting, because you have to understand, when you're in fear, you're doubting God. Because what is there to fear otherwise? If you truly believe that God has you, and he's protecting you, and he's guarding you, and he loves you and blesses you, what in the world could you possibly fear? And so this is why I want you to meditate on Luke chapter 17, verse 6, and meditate on Mark chapter 11, verses 22 through 24. Meditate on these passages. Think about them. Think about how you can apply them to your life. Think about how you can start speaking the things you want and cease from speaking the things you don't want, and start having the life that you want boldly by faith, because you're decreeing those things you want, you believe them, and they are established unto you. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.